4, 3, 2. We are live, everybody.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
I got to tell you, at 6 in the morning, jamming out to that, smoking a cigar, drinking
I
a scotch.
I was getting carried away on the starting credits. I was enjoying little.
I think David should just find that band and just have them come and just do a live opening.
I was getting into the Cuban mood. I am really happy. I'm going to be smoking the Romeo Julieta Cupidos or Cupido.
Nice. Okay.
Cupidos being plural. The Cupid. I haven't smoked this cigar. New release in the UK. I got this from number 6 Cavendish.
Oh,
that's where I was sitting.
Very nice.
Doing my smoking, and I thought I would smoke this on the show with you.
I appreciate that. And today I'm smoking an oldie but a goodie that I like. This is a CAO Brazilian Amazon. This is their big boy. This is like a 54-inch ring gauge by 6 inches.
Just big figures, lots of figures, lots of
big, but it's just a nice full body. And I don't recommend this if you're not a professional cigar smoker. If you do this at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I will tell you, it's a beauty. And that, my friends, is a ST DuPont lighter.
That is. I'm doing what I have been told by many cigar aficionados is to toast my cigar. Just toast it gently, get it on the tip of.
So when you toast it, do you tell it it's beautiful and you love the work it's done over the years and things when you're toasting it? Is that how you do it?
I believe.
Okay.
But then,
very nice. Nice. Look at that. That's a beauty.
Even burn.
Very nice.
Oh, that's a rush.
I know. I like to toast my cigars as well. My problem is that I use a torch, so it's very hard to toast a cigar with a thing. How's that? Good. Okay. Hey, Romeo and Julieta, the other side of the pond. Yeah, in a brown box. No one has to know.
Well, you get them from the Dominican Republic. They do a Romeo and Julieta.
Yeah, but it's not like that though. I've smoked the Romeo and Julieta from the Dominican, and I'm sorry, Romeo and Julieta is not as good as the Cuban Romeo and Julieta. The Romeo and Julieta I get when I smoke when I'm overseas, I enjoy. The ones in America are kind of like smoking rolled up paper.
Yeah, but I think for the US market, cigars generally are much more sort of slightly, higher nicotine, a bit more of a macho smoke. It's more, sort of
I don't know. Do you think so? I mean, I smoke Davidoffs. Davidoffs isn't that. I mean, this one is the CAO Brazilian Amazon is like, you have to have a 42-inch penis and you have to smoke this. This is a whole thing. But usually when I smoke a Davidoff or I smoke an Upman or something like that, it's not a big, it's just it's a gentleman's smoke. But today, because we're going to talk about aliens, got to smoke a big guy. So I didn't know where the show was going.
What did you say you're drinking?
This morning I'm drinking, this is a Macallan Rare Cast. I was between this and a Glenn Fargus 40-year-old, but I figured the Rare Cast today because we're going to be talking about rare things. So
otherworldly people, otherworldly
there you go.
Guests.
Now let me ask you this: what are you drinking?
I'm drinking coffee liqueur, but I've topped it up with Ron Diplomatico rum. I had that 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I remember that.
This one's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. I'm having a bit of a hit in the afternoon before I face lunch. No, what am I talking about? It's dinner time right now on a Saturday. So I'm about to have dinner. In Hollywoodland. So just so everybody's aware, we film this on Wednesdays, somewhere between 6 and 7 in the morning, my time, which is like between 1 and 2 Riz's time, right? So, and then the show comes out on Saturday mornings at about 6 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So it's about the same time. So
for all those people watching or listening, we're doing this for you.
I'm really looking forward to doing the live dinner broadcast in person with yourself. I think that will be a seminal event. But until then, this will have to do. We'll have to make believe.
Well, you know what I was thinking when we do the live show. I don't know if we're going to broadcast it live, but we could on a Saturday. We'd have to get it all set up, but we could actually have, depending on where we do it, we could actually have an audience.
We could. We probably will. We'll at least have one cameraman.
Or two, but I mean, like, we could have cigar aficionados join us and enjoy.
I think so. Okay. We can plan that one out, and
they
will be our guests rather than hypothetical guests. They will be our guests.
And then we will have our hypothetical dinner guests along with them. So there you go. So if you're a steakhouse, for lack of a better term, that has cigars and allows us to smoke, feel free. We'll fly out to you on your dime, and we'll do the show. So there you go. So I'm thinking of this great place in Dubai already that we should go and do a show.
You've got all this worked out, haven't you? You've got this grand plan, this grand scheme to take over the world, like the Bond villain that you are, to take over the world through the route of cigars, and lounge by lounge, restaurant by restaurant. Yeah. We'll get there to the top, and hopefully, I'll be sitting on your coattails and get dragged along.
No, we're doing this together, so there's no coattails. It's a partnership. It's if we go together. The only person that's, as David makes fun of me on our other shows, because David's not a cigar or a scotch drinker. He's like, so you're going to travel the world drinking scotch, smoking cigars with Riza, and I'm going to be stuck in Holland. And I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with that personally. So I'm good with that.
Well, he's the one who gave up on smoking. He used to smoke, apparently.
He used to smoke, and then he stopped smoking, I think.
Just before we started doing YouTube.
Right. Just before the show, like a few years before he started. But I also thought, I don't know if he smoked cigars or cigarettes, but I know he smoked some wacky stuff back in like the 80s. So, he's smoking the wacky tobacco, which now is all legal. So, it's a whole thing. So I'm like, I'm sorry, David. I mean, I told him he could come and carry my bag, because it's a very heavy bag. And I said, and I'm sure they can put you in cargo. And apparently he wants to sit in the plane. And I'm like, that's crazy. There's duct tape. There's a wing. It works. But what do I know? So there you go. So today, as we're puffing away on our stoves, how's the first part of your stogie, by the way?
It's outstanding. When you cut the cigar, especially with these Cuban cigars, when you cut the cigar, you do what's sort of a dry suck on it. You just get a little bit of the flavor of the cigar. Yep. The draw of the cigar is called. And in lighting this one up, I get that sort of slightly fruity, but very smooth, creamy aroma and taste. And that's very typical for Cuban cigars. You get, I don't want to use this word, but you have a sort of a sophisticated flavor profile rather than something that's brute force, blunt, boom, smacks you around the face. You get complexity. You can taste more than 2 or 3 things in the cigar normally. And that's the whole point of Cubans having that pedigree, that desire factor.
Right.
The New World cigars are more singular, generally speaking. There are better ones. They're more singular in their flavor profiles. Even
the most expensive New World cigar is not as complex as the cheapest Cuban cigar, in my experience. I mean, I've been very fortunate that I've smoked all over the world. And in America, when I run out of my Cubans, I go to the New World. And if we can't get them, we can't get them. But I pick cigars that are as close to it as I can get. CAO Brazilian Amazon, I find is close to it because it's a nice, strong complexity to it. The Davidoffs that I smoke, the Churchills, After Dark, has a nice complexity to it. And then there's a few like AVO has some nice stuff. Rocky Patel, depending on the cigar, not bad. It just kind of depends. And I think that's the nice thing about smoking a cigar. It doesn't matter if you smoke a $2 stick or a $250 stick. It's that brotherhood of we're smoking a stogie together and we're talking about whatever today, aliens. But whether you're at a cigar bar,
it slightly changes. It slightly changes when you're smoking on your own because you want to focus on the flavor and the aroma. Aroma. I wanted to suggest the brand to you, Eroa cigars. They make Aladinos. They're very, very, very good.
I've had them.
I love them. Very
Right.
good. So, but I went to my humidor today and I was like, well, I've smoked this one, I've smoked that one, and I'm like, yeah, the show's about an hour. I've got to find something that's about an hour. I have some Monte Cristos, but they're 45 minutes, and I don't want to be like with a toothpick like Castro. So I figured I'd go for the big boy, and if I have some left over, I'm okay with that. So, who am I to
Very good.
complain? So there you go.
So, sir,
So
should we kick
yes,
off? Are
we
we
should
going?
kick off.
Are we going to different planets, universes, galaxies? Are we staying here? Are we letting the aliens come to us? How are we going to do this?
We are gonna. I think someone's mowing the lawn. That's fascinating. While we're outside, can you? Hopefully, you guys don't hear that. If you do, we'll have to figure out what to do.
Vaguely, it doesn't sound like a lawnmower. It sounds more like a UFO starting up, waiting to take
Good.
off from your garden.
There you go. I'm assuming they're mowing our lawn. Oh, this will be exciting, especially when we're doing the show. Who knew? So the first thing we're going to do is, since I always start off, I started off with a non-fictional alien that people thought was an alien.
This has got my interest. A
I know.
non-fictional alien
Uh-huh.
that people thought was an alien,
Mm-hmm.
contemporary or some while ago?
All my aliens are, a while ago.
Okay.
So it's the first emperor of China. Because if you read the
Wow.
mythical lore of the first emperor of China, it says he arrived on a flaming dragon, and he brought paper,
You
writing.
really pulled that one out of the hat, didn't you? You went into your folklore. You identified what could be.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that.
Well, there you go. So they say that the first emperor of China was an alien because he came in on a flaming dragon. All right, dragons are a good thing in China. And he was there for 20 years, and he left on a flaming dragon. But he's the one who brought gunpowder and writing and printing and all these things that the West takes, credit for.
Enlightenment, advance beyond
Yeah,
his
everything.
time.
Rule of government, political and whatnot. So he brought all that. So because of that, I thought he would be an excellent whatchamacallit, first alien.
Your first move in dinner chess with me is always such a ridiculously strong. I almost said the F word there.
You're
I
allowed.
got carried away. But I control myself. Your first move is always impressive. I'm very. Are you waiting for the UFO to circle round to the other side? Sound is off. Now, could it be that the aliens are aware of this show and one of them has landed?
Yes. So for a little bit of the show, I'm going to be doing it inside, not outside, because as they're mowing the lawn.
Are
So
you saying
go.
due to unforeseen events?
Yes, unforeseen events of our
UFE,
alien.
unforeseen events, UFEs.
There you go.
This is very good. I like the sort of the guerrilla style of filming right now. That sort of
I know, right?
We're in a war zone. We'll go inside. We'll go undercover. The aliens are attacking.
The bad part is we're not allowed. The rule in the house is not allowed to have cigars in the house. So because of that, I'm like, but my cigar's out there. So I have to whatchamacallit.
Smoke for the both of us. I'll smoke for the both of us.
I know. And in a moment, these guys that come and mow the lawn, not that anybody cares, are on these mega machines, and they're done in like 2 minutes. So in 2 minutes, when he's done, I will be back outside having my cigar. So not to worry. But anyway, yes. So the first emperor of China was said to be a mythical being or a mythical creature, or a person that came and enlightened the population, if you will, at the time of China, and got China moving forward. So there's many folk laws on it. And then I've read historical books about him, and I read about like how he looked and other things, and I'm like, interesting. So I always thought, and the UFO people think he was, if you will, from somewhere else. So I figured as a non-fictional alien, he's the perfect alien.
My goodness, once again, you put me on the back foot right from the start. Now, in order to give you a response for a response, something cool, I'll have to go in the opposite direction. You've gone for a very serious historical figure, very well researched. Earth calling Orson. Earth calling Orson. I'm going for Mork. I'm going for Robin Williams. The Robin Williams alien.
That's awesome.
At my dinner table. I had to go for an alien from the 70s and early 80s. I had to.
I know. You always that's your thing. You love
sweet spot. That's my zone. That's where I have to go. I thought Orson, Mr. Nanu himself, would be my first dinner guest, and he would beam himself in, tell no end of jokes, and when he tells jokes, I'll be sitting there laughing. My God, Robin Williams. I mean, in the guise of an alien, it couldn't really get better than that, could it? In terms of dinner party guests.
His antics are just legendary. So that would just be awesome to have that. Oh, and he's talking about that. The aliens have left, and now we're going back outside. Almost outside. It's killing me.
They left a big circle on your garden.
They did, and I will show the circle as soon as I possibly can. But yes, Robin Williams.
The dog will be sitting in the middle of the circle having a little dump, and that will make great TV.
There's a story that I will tell while we're waiting for the aliens to leave the backyard. And I think they're illegal aliens, but they're still aliens, and that's a positive. There's a story about Skinwalker Ranch, and 2 Native American police officers were driving on a road talking about dogs. And as they were driving on the road, they saw what looked like a dog smoking a cigar in a trench coat with a fedora. If you believe in, the Skinwalker Ranch is a very famous UFO spot. Okay. And it's crazy. I read the books and we heard the interviews, and they tell the story. And they saw this, and they drove about 10 meters past, stopped the car to back up to see what they saw. And when they got out of the car, the dog with the fedora, cigar, and trench coat was gone, but the footprints were there. And they said that he stood 6 to 7 feet tall. So for the people that don't know Skinwalker Ranch, there are fascinating books by George Knapp about it. They talk all about
this was going to build up into a joke, but you're serious.
Oh no, this is real stuff. Like I've been following UFOs, since the planet cooled, because I've been here that long, and I came from one. But because of that, it's just fascinating. So when you said about the dog in the circle, it triggered that. If you want to read a cool book about Skinwalker Ranch and George Knapp, he's the guy you want to talk with. Oh, look at this. We have the outside studio back. The aliens are gone. Oh, the lawn looks nice.
You're obviously going to send me a link to this afterwards.
I'll send you a link to the book, and I'll try to find the interview. Go. Beauty. Now, where was we? So anyway, Skinwalker Ranch for the UFO people is huge. A guy named Bigelow bought it, and he had UFO people. There's a story of the guy had an infrared glass, and he was looking at the sky, and he watched creatures come in and out of a portal in the sky. It's in George Knapp's book, Skinwalker Ranch, or The Legend of Skinwalker Ranch. There's also an interview with people that talk about it. But we didn't talk about dogs. I want to say it's either New Mexico, Utah, or Nevada. I always forget. But it's a very cool thing. So, I figure that kind of ties to our alien theme of the first emperor of China. We've got Mork, aka Robin Williams. That Nanu. Are you kidding? That would be awesome. Oh, I love the Mork. I'm sorry that he passed, but I watched something the other day. Robin Williams' first commercial was an AT&T of Illinois commercial.
Really?
Called where he did all his voices and played with phones. So there you go.
So I think we came out with some good opening players there.
Yeah.
First Emperor of China and Mork.
And then we usually do. I think we usually come out with our first, whatchamacallit, our first gambits are usually very good. I like that.
Round two.
I had several, but this one
I'm going to go with this one next. I'm going to go. Do you remember the movie The Time the Earth Stood Still? Keanu Reeves starred in one in 2000, right? But I don't want the Keanu Reeves alien. I want the alien from the 1951 original version of The Earth Stood Still.
I vaguely remember watching this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about I saw the Keanu Reeves movie.
Right.
I vaguely remember watching the 1950s movie, and I'm so happy that you're going for that 50s, because the 50s and 60s was the time of our awareness towards aliens,
UFOs,
B movies, and it's a smile on the face moment again when you reference the 50s. The alien from when the Earth stood still. Now, did that have something to do with some steel ball? The alien was in the ball or something like that?
Okay, so the alien comes down in a spaceship. The spaceship lands, of course, in Central Park, because if you're going to land, if you're an alien, you land in Central Park. Right? You're like, hey, we're here, and we're taking over the planet. So, but he was a friendly alien, so the human part of the alien comes out, and an army guy got a little too excited and shoots him, because we're humans and we shoot things. So a big mechanical robot is his bodyguard that comes out, and he's got the beam that can destroy
right.
Okay, that's the 1951 version, and then of course at the end, they save the day, they save the planet, everybody lives happily ever after, and we all kill each other later. And the Keanu Reeves version is kind of the same thing, but because of CGI, they could do so much more with the alien, so much more with the big mechanical guy, and they could with all the new technology, they can make him this and make him that. Where back in the day, they only knew X, Y, and Z.
Oh, by the way, only because look at the ash structure on that.
That's very nice. My ash fell off. So go figure.
You've been de-ashing.
I'm very upset with this one. It's making CAO bad.
So you're going for the human alien, the second human alien, not the Keanu Reeves alien. The second human alien that gets shot. The well was shot.
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact. But then he didn't kill. He could have destroyed the planet, but he realizes that the humans are at their infancy, and we suck.
And they just don't know what they're doing.
Correct. And so because of that, well, we're okay.
Bit of a Jesus moment. They know not what they do.
And they didn't destroy us.
Thank God, we're still here.
Well, yeah, we're still here.
But we'll get destroyed eventually. It's going to happen.
Listen, we at the Illuminati have 2017 marked on the calendar to wipe out the planet. So you got 3 years.
Enjoy until then.
Enjoy.
I had 2 or 3, just like you, 2 or 3 written down for my round 2. I've gone for one that if you know this is an alien, and if you don't, you'll be very surprised that this is an alien.
Okay.
I tried to go for a bit of a surprise factor in a lot of these things. I try to go for something interesting. This alien, fictional alien, obviously, gets beamed down at the beginning of every appearance.
Beamed down at every appearance. It's not the guy in the red shirt from Star Trek that always dies. Who beams down on every appearance? Hold on.
And if you've never noticed this, this is an eye opener for you. If you've never noticed this,
I am out of. No, wait. Is this it? What decade is this alien coming from?
This alien, perhaps everyone on the planet knows this alien.
Really?
That famous.
All right, so it's not my favorite Martian who gets honorable mention. Wow, it gets beamed down on every. I have no idea. My mind is a blank.
I'm really happy with myself. I have you.
I can tell. I can tell.
To adjust my tie a little bit for this one.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
This alien will be sitting at dinner having an awkward conversation with me, and his name is Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean,
played by Rowan Atkinson. Mr. Bean.
Everyone knows Mr. Bean. He gets beamed down.
And he's an alien.
Oh wow,
That's
that
why
explains
he behaves the way he behaves.
Gotcha, Rowan. Oh, and I love him.
That's a beauty. I like that.
Do you recall watching the titles at the beginning?
Vaguely.
It starts with a choir singing and a back street, and he gets beamed down.
Wow, I never thought. That is awesome. He's just a funny guy in general.
He doesn't have to say much. He has to just, those eyebrows have to go up slightly, and it's all over.
Mr. Bean. I like Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean, congratulations. You've made it to the table. So Rowan Atkins tells a story. He was on the Graham Norton show.
That's right.
And he tells a story because he was at the Range Rover dealership.
Yes.
Buying parts. And the guy says something to him, and he says, you look like that comic, Mr. Bean or something. He goes, yeah, Rowan Atkins. He goes, I'm Rowan Atkins. And he says, an old British guy's like, sure you are. And just walked away. And I was like, oh my God, if that doesn't put you in the most humble state. Because he's like, sure.
Very British thing, very British humor. That story is funny because it's true. That's how people behave. Especially when you go outside London, when you go to rural areas, that's what people are. People are kind of sort of like understated, dry sense of humor.
But he does have a nice car collection, and I like his movies, and I like his movies that he speaks in. He seems, and listen, I don't know the guy, but from what I see of him, he seems very personable and nice.
Yeah.
So he would be a wonderful person. Yeah, I don't know if he smokes
person.
Cigars though, but we won't hold that against him.
Well, Mr. Bean will give it a go. Mr. Bean will try and work out. Quite awkward at the table. But I not found out, but I had a realization, and then I started watching some YouTube clips that Mr. Bean is an alien, and I could not leave him off the dinner table. Virtually everyone around the world. I mean, his show is massive. Or his show was massive. Because it was basically a mime artist, and that language of mime is a universal language.
Yeah.
And it's not just universal; it transcends age groups as well, which is why he's made it so big.
And he puts a turkey on his head.
That's
which is one of the funniest bits I have ever seen. That and him at the Olympics when he was playing the piano, looking at his phone, daydreaming. That was kudos to you, my friend. That rivals the first emperor of China.
Round 2.
It was a good round.
Round 3 now. Round 3.
Ooh, round 3. Round 3, I'm bringing in a funny alien that I think the movie's about maybe 5 or 10 years old, but he's a funny alien, and you might not have seen it. Seth Rogen plays the alien.
Well, I know Seth Rogen.
Paul, Paul. Paul was the name of the movie. And Paul plays an alien that escapes from Area 51. And it's hysterical. Steven Spielberg makes a cameo with his voice, talking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind and how it would work, and talking about E.T. and the funniest movie. It's a feel-good buddy travel, blah, blah, blah movie. And it's hysterical. Paul.
Again, I need a link to this. There's a recommendation. I like the recommendations at the end of this. I end up seeing stuff and reading about stuff that I didn't really know about.
Okay.
So I want to see Paul. I have a feeling I've seen the trailer for Paul.
You probably have seen the movie. He escapes. He's in a Winnebago. Justin Bateman's in it. Seth Rogen is in it. The 2 guys from Britain are in it. The skinny guy, fat guy. I can't remember their name.
Yes. And
Simon Pegg.
An alien. It's the voice of Seth Rogen, is it?
Right, that's what I said. Seth Rogen plays Paul, and Simon Pegg, and I can't remember his.
Simon Pegg and the other guy who are in Blue Fuzz or something like that.
Yeah, Blue Fuzz, and funny movie. Hysterical flick.
I think I should watch this movie because I recall I started watching it a couple of years ago, and I may got distracted with something. That, as often as happens when you watch movies at home rather than going to a cinema. If you're at home and you're distracted, it's all over.
My problem at home is that the way I watch a movie is I'm working. So it's kind of like out of the side of my eye. I'm like, oh, that was funny. And then because it's at home, I can reverse it and I can watch that scene and I'm like, oh, okay.
Your level of commitment is different.
It's that when I'm at the theater, I have to we just saw a Civil War this weekend, and I had to watch Civil War because I was in the theater.
there are some points where I was wishing I was home so I can fast forward it. There's some movies like Argyle. I'm like, all right, we can fast forward through this crap. But it's nice to be able to sit and just kind of, go on a 2-hour mini holiday.
I've heard lots of bad things about Civil War.
It's a great flick. There's nothing bad about it.
Oh, really?
I think it's an excellent movie. It's a portrayal of a president who's full of himself, and at the end, he gets exactly what he deserves. And I think it's more. I think whoever made it is a warning shot to America, saying, if you don't
it's a British director,
and the direction was great, but I think the way he did it is if you don't get your shit together, America, this is what could happen. And I thought it was very telling. It wasn't like Red Dawn is somewhat telling and whatnot, but this was very telling. And I was like, the reason I think people think it's bad or they not good is because they're shocked. It's like, oh my God. And it's okay to have a movie that shocks you. It's like Oppenheimer. We saw Oppenheimer. I thought it was a great flick. I mean, I also read all the books, so I kind of knew how it ends. Yeah, it's been in all the history books. But people were saying, oh, I don't like the ending. Oh, I'm sorry. That actually happened. It's not a movie. It's a movie. It's a docudrama. But I'm sorry you don't like that we detonated a bomb. This goes back to the kids not learning shit. And I'm like, there's a real boom. He really made a bomb and it went boom. Just so we're clear. And it's sort of like, I think Civil War is kind of like, listen, if America doesn't get its act together, this is what could happen.
Now, the reason I mentioned that I've only heard bad things is there's a YouTube channel that I think virtually everyone who's into the movies watches, Nerderotic. You know Nerderotic?
Never heard of him.
I find the guy who presents Nerderotic, 80 to 90% of what he says I tend to agree with. But this might be one of those that's fallen through the crack. I will give, on your recommendation, I'll give Civil War a go.
It's a movie. It's not a, and how do I put this for the people that may watch it? It is not a, there's no special effects. There's no this, it's no that. It's like there's acting, there's gunfire, there's explosions, there's a movie, and people die. It's 2 hours long, but it is like life, if you will. Not like life's 2 hours, but it's like there's no anything where you're gonna be like, oh, and there's points where it's like real life where people are talking and doing, there's nothing going on, they're just talking about life, and there's other points where there's some action. But it's like an old, if you will, 1930s, 1940s movie where there's actual dialogue. You as an audience person has to give thought. And actually, when we left the movie, we discussed the movie over dinner, which is to me the perfect movie ever. If I can discuss a movie over dinner that has intellectual thought, now we're talking.
And I think a dinner is worth its weight when you can have a cigar after it.
Which is what I always do, which is why I'm out here in the outdoor studio.
Now, for my round 3, I'm going to give you the 2 choices I had, and I really cannot even now decide which of these 2. I wanted an anchor point. I've gone for funny, hilarious, awkward, comical clowns at one side.
Right.
And I wanted an alien that's very anchored and perhaps even intimidating on the other side.
Okay.
Shall I read both choices out?
Please.
Choice number 1, Doctor Who, the time traveling lord.
Which one?
Tom Baker.
Thank you. Yes, the best one.
Tom Baker, as far as I'm concerned, is Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The gravitas of the actor, the voice, the look, that sort of the dull 70s colors. I was a kid when I watched this stuff. It was genuinely scary. It's not like the crap that they put on now. That's nonsense.
Right.
Tom Baker was believable, and at that age, he was very believable.
I agree. I liked him.
I thought that to have someone with that much wit, gravity, wisdom, time traveling alien, and he is an alien.
Right.
That was choice number 1.
Okay.
Choice number 2.
Okay.
Darth Vader.
Oh, yes. That would be awesome.
I could learn something about the dark side from him, I tell you.
Yeah.
And
I taught him, though. He was my pupil. So, so
The force was strong in that one.
yeah, that's the very. But yeah, Darth. Those are two interesting guests. I like that. Very. But Tom Baker, I liked him. I liked the scarf. I just liked his whole thing. I've watched the other Doctor Who's, and I'm just sort of like, you're not him. And there's just something about him that was sort of kind of like this whimsical. I guess, alien, right? This whimsical alien, and I was like, I like you. You're perfect. You're perfect for what I need as an alien.
He's likable and intimidating at the same time.
Yeah.
Tom Baker. Darth Vader is intimidating all of the time, especially if you're a kid, especially if you're.
Right.
I was 7 years old when I saw Star Wars, and Darth Vader stuck in my psyche. And
I think I was 16 when I saw. I can tell, this is how bad it is. I can tell you who I saw Star Wars with and where I saw it, because
me too.
Yeah, and it was awesome. But I was like, I think I was 16, because I remember I drove to the theater when the first Star Wars.
Where was it? Go on. Where's your Star Wars memory?
So I had a friend, and David, if you're watching, David Ryan and his wife and his sister Kim were friends of mine from high school. His mom let me drive their station wagon, so David, I, and Kim could go to the mall in Lauderhill, at the Lauderhill 6, to go watch Star Wars. And her name was Sharon, and she's like, go ahead and take the car. So I saw it with David and Kim Ryan, and I was 16 years old. David was my age. I think Kim was 14. And then we got in the car, and I remember we were going to go to like Pizza Hut after, and I put my foot on the gas, and Kim's like, we're not in a starfighter, Steve. And I'm like, yes, we are. And it was sort of like that. And she's like, no, we're not. So it was very cute.
The summer of 1977.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it was. Summer of 1977. Yeah. I saw that movie with my father and my younger brother in Streatham Cinema, South London.
Wow.
My father said after the movie that he had a headache after that crap.
Really?
I remember that very well. Well, he didn't use those words, but he said, you know what? That gave me a headache, that movie. And I actually don't remember seeing it. I remember going there.
Right.
But I don't know why I don't remember sitting and watching it.
Wow.
But I do remember watching it maybe 6 million times on video throughout the
80s. Right.
But it must have left a mark on all of us. We bought all the Star Wars toys, everything and anything, every figure. Anywhere you found a figure, whether you're traveling in Paris or you're in London or wherever it is, if there's a Star Wars figure in the toy shop, you buy it.
That's correct. And the best part was George Lucas said, and I've seen the documentary when they were making it, he said you could just see Harrison Ford and all these people looking at him like he was like, this is going to be such a piece of crap. No one's going to watch it. But Harrison Ford, to his credit, said, I think they paid him $120,000 at the time. And they would have given him, I think it was like, say, $300,000. But they said, we'll give you 120 and a point, or we'll give you 300,000, no points. So he said, no. He said it like he was a carpenter, and he said, I'll take the point. Like he said, I didn't have any money, so what's the big deal if I don't have any money, right? So he took the point, and he said it's the smartest thing he ever did. And then, of course, from there, he became Indiana Jones.
Now, you've tied in 2 or 3 things there. Star Wars and a lot of Indiana Jones were filmed 5 miles up the road from me in Elstree Studios.
Yep.
So I live within 4 or 5 miles of Tatooine, of Alderaan, of Mos Eisley.
Okay.
I'm in the locality, baby. And
that's nice.
So Star Wars is a big thing. So out of these 2, maybe instead of Tom Baker, who I admire a lot, right? It might be Darth Vader. It might have to be a Star Wars finish at that
I think you would have to have him. I think you'd have to have Darth Vader. Only though if he's going to be nice. I don't need him killing our guests.
Or how would he smoke a cigar?
That's true. I think. And how does he? He wouldn't even be able to. He wouldn't be able to drink.
Yeah, you never see Darth Vader. Well, he goes to his throne room where the mask.
They take off. Right.
How bed. But I can't see him sitting there having a TV dinner in front of
Mm-mm.
the screen.
No.
It won't happen.
Well, he's an alien, so maybe he doesn't need to do that. And some honorable mentions, I think, would be good. I had the guys from Cocoon, the movie that Ron
Cocoon,
Howard did.
yes.
I had those guys. I thought they would be cool. I had My Favorite Martian, which was a U.S. sitcom, which was hysterical. I think it was in the 60s. I when he saw the reruns. And I also had the guy from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Zaphod Beeplebrox.
That's
with
the one.
2 heads.
Yeah. Well, and also the one that Mo Def played. The black guy with the towel. I can't remember his name.
I can't remember his name, but Zaphod Beeplebrox, I'll never forget because that's a name you either remember or you don't remember.
Or you don't. And then you had Malkovich played that alien too, that crawled on the table with his head. He just had the big head.
Oh, I haven't seen the latest movie. I'm talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that I saw in the 80s on BBC TV.
Mm-hmm. I saw that one. It was like a 7-part series. It was very cool. But I'm talking about the new one that came out.
Yeah.
Because I watched
Simon Pegg, I think, again.
No, not Simon Pegg. It was the other guy. Oh my God, not Simon Pegg.
Oh, I know. The guy who was in
Martin something.
Martin. Yes, you're right.
Martin, we apologize. We don't know your last name, but it was a funny flick. I read the book, and then the other book from that is the Restaurant on the Other Side of the Galaxy, which is hysterical. So I read those two. But yeah, so all of those guys would get honorable mention, I think.
My honorable mention is Alf.
Oh,
Alf,
yeah.
alien life form.
Mm-hmm.
The puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one that there is no way that would have come for dinner. Actually, we would have been the dinner is Predator. Okay.
Oh yeah, Predator would have been. We would have had to have a dialogue. Or Alien. Remember Alien?
We were the dinner.
We were the dinner for Predator and Alien. We would do that on a television screen.
And then harking back to the 50s.
Okay.
I can't leave this out. Twilight Zone episode. To serve man. Remember the alien? Serve man.
Yep. Rod Sterling.
The guy that played, it was in the Addams Family. The actor that was in the Addams Family. Lurch. Same actor playing.
At the very end, she comes running over. She goes, "Sir, don't get on the ship. To serve man is a menu." And I was like, "Oh, it's a beauty."
Spoiler! Everyone who's not seen it, go watch it.
Screw them. And then there was you had Outer Limits and you had the Twilight Zone, and those were like phenomenal. I love this. You know what I like about the ST DuPont is that when you light it, when you open it, it makes that ping sound, and that's just it's an ST DuPont, and that's a beauty.
They've trademarked that sound. You buy the sound, and the lighter comes for free.
Well, for 5,000 pounds, it better do something. So
I've just given them a new marketing line. You buy the sound, you buy the cling, the lighters for free.
The lighters for free. So ST DuPont should be reaching out to us in no time. We'll be heading up the marketing department. You know what's really funny? I don't really see. I mean, I know they don't let you. Like, I know this show is limited advertising because we smoke cigars and drink on the show, right? And so it's limited in revenue, and that's fine. But I'm shocked that more cigar companies or lighter companies don't, whether they use people like us or have their own channel talking about their products, because I don't really see ST DuPont doing anything. Like, they had a fountain pen set that I was trying to, a friend of mine had his cigar store many years ago. And I was like, on a Saturday, I go, you know what? I think it was 8,000 US. And I was like, I'll be back for it. And I came back the week later and he said, somebody bought it. I'm like, who spends $8,000 on a fountain pen?
People do.
Like, all right. Apparently. Well, I just bought a new fountain pen.
To sign the multi-million or multi-billion-dollar contracts, you need a 40,000 pound pen. It goes with the territory, I believe.
Yeah, I just bought a new one, and I love my fountain pens. A girl I dated many years ago got me a fountain pen from 1913. It's like solid gold. It's beautiful. I don't write it. It just sits on the desk and I look at it. I'm afraid to write with it because you can't replace anything from 1913 with a nib and the this and the. I'm like, I don't enjoy it. So, but I love my fountain pens. Any other aliens that you like that you would want to honorable mention?
I mean, there's the alien that appears in the Bugs Bunny movies. You know, when he goes to Mars and there's that alien
Marvin,
in the
Marvin,
bunny-
Marvin,
Marvin the
Marvin.
alien.
Yeah, he would be funny.
Marvin the alien. I could pick any aliens out of Star Trek or Star Wars, but I fixated in on Darth Vader. You did something today that I wasn't expecting, and that's made me think a little bit more as to historical aliens. I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to India. I'm going to pronounce the book wrong. The Vashirami, which talks about flying carpets or temples that have battles, and it describes them that they're using lasers, right? So there's aliens as well.
Story of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh has the same story, yeah.
Basically, so they're historically nonfiction. I think there's lots of aliens, but once again, it goes back to things we've discussed. We live in a society that if we can't explain it, it's fiction. You know what I mean? Like even if a UFO, which is right down my lawn right now, and I take a picture and send it to somebody, they'll say it's photoshopped. It's this, it's that. Even the Tic Tacs. So the Tic Tac, here's something interesting. I watched a special about the Tic Tacs. And there's things called tall whites, which are supposedly aliens, tall white aliens, right?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Okay. So the tall white aliens have been here for centuries. They have a deal with the U.S. government. And Lockheed Martin Skunk Works are the ones who make the Tic Tac flying machine for the aliens now. Okay? So the Tic Tac you see are man-made here on the planet. And here's something that people forget. In 2019 or 2020, there was a Pentagon briefing. It was covered. I watched it, and the Pentagon official said, "We have off-world vehicles in our possession." Full stop, says it. And they asked a couple questions, and they went off and did whatever. Never made the press. Never made this. Never made that. There's a book called Lost in Time, and the Lost in Time book is not about abduction. It means when there's people from the government that work at every publication, maybe not now, but back in the day. And so if you were going to publish a story about aliens, they would desensitize it and do things along those lines. So I thought that was fascinating. So just like in 1954, there were 7 or 8 UFOs flying around the White House that are documented on radar. There's pictures. You can read the Washington Post back in the day. There's stories about it and whatnot. And people saw it for like 4 nights, and they'd scramble jets and they would take off. And I'm thinking to myself, but we don't discuss it anymore. It's like it's out of the American psyche for some reason. And I'm like, seriously, that's out of your psyche? This is like, boom. So to me, aliens are fascinating.
We live in a very dumbed down world. The media, I mean, especially since the Vietnam War, it was understood that the media can play the most important part in determining what people think. And ever since then, we're media driven. Power brokers will use whatever means they can to hide stuff from us, control the general public. And that's the way it is. And whether you believe in aliens or not, that mechanism does exist. We are controlled. We are placed in front of the 3-card trick, and we're led to pick the card that they want us to pick.
That is true. And I'm fascinated by, because I like history. I kind of believe what Graham Hancock says about, there's a lost part of us that we don't know. And as we talked about on the last show, I think it goes back, whether it's billions or millions of years. And one day something's going to happen. Like, in Antarctica, when all the ice melts and they find all these pyramids and technology, which everybody says is there. You can only hide stuff for so long unless you, and the problem now is, in my opinion, is the governments have hidden it for so long. When they finally say, okay, we hid it from you to protect you, I think half the population is going to be like, yeah, who cares? The other half's going to be like, you lied to us. How do we believe anything? And the other part of that is, if I say to you that we know there's aliens, are you still someone from, whether it's Pakistan, the United Kingdom, the UAE, are you that, or do you become an earthling? And if you become an earthling, religion and governments now can't really control you, because you realize there's a greater purpose in the world other than the third rock from the sun.
Which reminds me, the cast from Third Rock from the Sun. We should have them. We should have from them for dinner.
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow, yep, and Jane Curtin, and whatever.
On that note, have you had an alien encounter in one way or another?
I would say yes.
And I would say most definitely yes.
Okay, so there you go. So we can invite them on the show.
In what way?
I have seen things that I cannot explain, whether I was driving or just like walking the dog or something. I'd be like, what the? And, it's not a plane. It's not this. It's not that. And I'm like, interesting. When I was a kid, I swear to God, I was saved by an alien. So here's a good story. So when I was a kid, I was at the park. I was playing, and I went headfirst into the sliding board, as you do as a kid, right? A sliding board. I don't think they have them anymore, because back in the day, they didn't have little rubber things on them. Because when you were a kid back then, you got hurt. So I had split my head, like open. And my mom said, and this is my mom telling the story. She said her and her girlfriend were there. They saw what happened. So they're running over. Even the police officer at the park saw, and he's running over. And they all told the story that out of nowhere, a man in a cape and a fedora picked me up and literally walked. I was like kind of running, but not really running, to take me to the hospital, which is like, say, 7 blocks away. And my mom, and I met the police officer later, and my mom's girlfriend I knew as growing up as a kid, they all said the same thing. As we would get closer, he would always be, say, 20 paces ahead. If we slowed down, he would slow down. If we got faster, he got faster. It's like he perceived what was going on. And I was like, well, this is interesting. So when the nurse at the hospital, when I got there, said, your son just appeared and we knew what was wrong. And my mom said, well, this guy brought them. They were like, and this is before they had cameras that you could see things, right? And they were like, no, he was just appeared on the gurney. And we knew that he split his head, and the doctor knew, well, we have to do something. And my mom's like, but this guy brought them in. And the girlfriend and the police officer are like, but this guy and they're like, nobody brought him in. He just on the gurney. So I was fascinated by that. So I think that was my first foray into there's something more than us.
You need the Twilight Zone music superimposed over this little segment.
Yeah.
That is, I love stories like that, because to the person who was there, they know what happened, and otherwise it just sounds like a fantastical story.
And I was 3 or 4 years old, so I can only, like, I remember I split my head because I still have the scar, but I can't tell you anything about the guy or the person. But my mom and her girlfriend and the police officer, I met the police officer, because in New York they the beat cop walks the beat. So as I got older, I said, tell me the story of when I split my head. And he literally said to me, it was the weirdest day of my life. And I was like, really? Because he said, I'd always pass by the park because of the kids, and I'm like, okay. And he said, but this guy, he said, he appeared out of nowhere. It's like he just poof, he appeared. I'm like, okay. I'm thinking, this is a police officer. And my mom and her girlfriend, I'm thinking, and they all told the same. None of them deviated. My mom didn't deviate even to the day she died. That was the story. Her girlfriend, that was the story. The police officer, that was this. And the nurse at the hospital, that was the story. And I was like, wow. So there's something there, I think. And then I got blown up. That's a long story. She was into blowtorches, but I was working my way through a private high school one summer at a restaurant, and I got blown up, gas and grease, and I was pushed into a corner. And in theory, you can't get out because the floor is wet, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's a big fire going on, and something, whether it's divine intervention or an alien, literally picked me up and threw me out. Like I felt I got thrown, not, like there was no gas that threw me. It was not this. I was blown into a corner where the door is where I'm sitting, and the corner is 10 meters to the other side. Like I'm not running anywhere. I'm against the wall. And someone, whatever, came in and literally threw me through the thing. And I was like, interesting. So I've experienced stuff that, whether it's, like I said, divine intervention, the universe, or an alien, that I'm like, this is fascinating. So when I was
stuff, maybe you have, by talking about it here, you've some sort of digital reference of it, but this is fascinating stuff.
I was like, okay. And so, and from that point on, and we talked about, we had a show this week, Adam on the Eve on Monday, which you can see on his, on the playlist. You can go, this title of the show is Death. And we actually talked about this. And from those moments on, I didn't fear dying anymore. That it became a life to me now is exploring. Like, what is it? Who are these people? Where do we come from? It's became more inquisitive. Like, and I always used to joke with my mom. I go, listen, if I ever disappear, just know that the aliens came and they go, do you want to go? And I'm like, in a minute. Like, and my mom used to say, but you would leave this behind and that behind. I go, yeah, but just think of the experience of you travel the
Onward
universe.
journey.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm okay with that because I figure I'm just going to see you at another point in, if you will, for lack of a better term, time, because time doesn't really exist. And I'm like, I'll see you somewhere else, and I'm okay with that. So I always tell people, if I ever just disappear, it's good. That means they came. I'm good. I'm going home, and I'm good with that. There you
Very
go.
nice. Very nice. Everything I've experienced feels mundane by comparison.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
That's my encounter.
Okay.
I think it was my second or third divorce. It was around the time I was going through a hard. I think it was after my first divorce. I used to go walking late evening.
Right.
I still do from time to time. I'm a late evening walker.
Okay.
And this is about 16, 17 years ago, perhaps 18
Okay.
years. I went outside the house, quiet suburban London street, nothing happening, no cars going by. And I felt a very, very eerie silence. When people are talking and they suddenly go silent and the silence is deafening? I was on the street and it was silence that was not hurting my ear. It was physical silence. It's like an uncomfortable silence. I can't hear anything. And I looked up, there was a glowing dot, maybe 10, 20 meters above our house. Just sitting above our house.
Right.
I went for a walk and I look back and I'm wondering, is that what it is? So I took out my camera. I snapped a photo.
Oh, wow.
I snapped a photo. I have it. I'll share it with you.
Please.
And I started to walk down the street. I'd walk 10, 20 meters just to see if my perspective of where is this thing? It's floating in midnight.
Right.
And I'm trying to get an idea of, is it 10 meters above the house? Is it 10 miles above the house? I'm trying to work out where it is just by moving myself. Right. And it was fixated above. And then it slowly.
And he left. And that's what happens when we start talking about the aliens. There he is. He's back. Look, the aliens didn't want you to tell the story.
They always intervene.
There you go.
I started walking with me. And so all of this happened in the space of maybe a minute.
Right.
And now it's followed what I think it's followed my path. It's kind of walked, it's floated parallel to me. I'm looking at it, and then it just went straight up.
Wow.
At a gazillion miles. It just, and the sound came back. Like ambience came back.
Yeah.
And so I'm not that important a person that I would be tracked by the military or I'm not that important.
Right.
There's my alien encounter. Lasted a minute long. And it went straight up. But I snapped a photo. I think I snapped 2 photos, and I will share those.
Please.
And I thought maybe this is a balloon.
Right.
A luminous balloon.
Yeah.
Or one of those Chinese candles.
But not when it goes straight up.
Not one that just went. It didn't go up. It went.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
for the person that sees it, they know what they're seeing.
And you know what's really funny? When I've seen stuff like that, I'm like, my friends are like, you should take pictures. And I said, you know what I said to somebody once? I saw, I think about 4 years ago. I was out for my 4 o'clock in the morning run, and I saw something that I couldn't explain, and I literally stopped and watched it. And I was actually talking to somebody when I was running, and they're like, dude, take a picture, take a video, take a picture. And I go, why? And they go, so you can show people. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm seeing it. I'm here. I'm enjoying. And what's really funny, I literally said, I am enjoying the moment. And I didn't take a picture. And for the 3 to 5 minutes it was doing whatever it was doing, I just enjoyed the moment of it and me.
Would it be fair to say you were fixated? You were enthralled?
I wasn't fixated. It wasn't like, oh my God. I was like, I'm enjoying this moment. I knew I had my phone. I could have taken a picture, and I said, but why? And it was sort of one of those, if they really want people to know they're here,
it'll be a more obvious move. It'll be a more obvious.
Yeah. And to me, I'm like, no, I don't need to take a picture. I'm enjoying this moment. I'm not trying to prove to the world. I don't need to put it out on social intercourse. I don't need to put it on social media. That's one of our shows, social intercourse. I don't need to put it out on social media. I'm in the moment and I'm enjoying it. And it was one of those things where I was like, I'm good. And it was like, and my one buddy was like, dude, I go, I'm good. I said, you don't get it. I said, that was my moment. It wasn't a moment that I was going to share with the world. It wasn't a moment that the world needed to see. And I always used to joke, like, if an alien lands and we shake hands and we talk, I'm going to be like, you cigars and scotch? And my big joke is from Skinwalker Ranch, the dog with the fedora and the French coat with this. I'm like, anytime he wants to come have cigars, I like, we could do this all day long. Like, I'm good. As long as you're friendly, like, you're not going to eat anybody. I'm like, you can come smoke cigars anytime with me. And I said that to a friend of mine, and they're just like, you're an idiot. I'm like, and then my friend's wife was looked at, and she goes, no, he would. He'd be like, do you have better cigars than me? Where do you get your cigar? I mean, like, she said, Steve would be like, are there cigars where you come? I mean, it'll be a whole thing about cigars. Not like, oh, you're an alien dog that talks and is 6 feet tall and walks like a human, and you're wearing a trench coat and a fedora. You'd be like, so tell me about where you're from. And then how do you get your cigars or your cigarettes? How do you do? And Steve would be like, I could care less about you're an alien. Just tell me this other stuff. So I thought that was my mindset. And I think that's just because of all the experiences I've had now in my life with things that are just strange that you can't explain. Who knows? There you go.
Now, very conveniently, I guess near the end of the show.
Sure.
Once again, the idea for the next show, somehow you've managed to weave that in.
Okay.
And I feel if we talk long enough, somewhere or another, there's an idea or two hiding out in there.
I'm sure.
Not actors.
Okay.
Characters from a movie.
What character? Any movie we want to have?
Any movie character.
Oh, I already got him now. Oh man, I got
not the actor, not the actor.
No, the character. The character. Yeah.
The character from any movie.
I got it. Oh, I got him. I already know.
And you already know which time zone I'm going for. I'm going for a sort of like a 50s to 70s, 80s, maybe. I mean, that's a. How about that?
I like it because I've got one from 1968, one from 1972, and I'm thinking of the third one right now.
I'm racking my brains. I will take some time.
I love it. Oh, I'm excited. Now, next week, I'm actually in New York. So
New York.
I'm in New York. I'm going to have water. I'm really in New York for meetings. So unfortunately, I will not have scotch and cigars because the hotel, I may have a scotch, but the hotel, it's verboten to have apparently cigars in the hotel.
I hear it's really bad. It's really like they're really clamping down on cigar smoking everywhere.
However, there's a Davidoff, Brooklyn. Pay attention. There's a Davidoff lounge in Brooklyn. If you feel like opening up at 6 o'clock in the morning, Daddy will be there with a cigar and a scotch, and we'll promote the
channel
and a YouTube, and you guys can, it'll be our first, if you will, live show at a joint at 6 a.m. So if Davidoff in Brooklyn is paying attention, we'll take care of you. But anyway, so I've already got characters that, oh yeah, this is going to be a beauty. I've got a list, but there's two right off the top.
Characters. I just have to pick 3 of them out of my whole range.
Well, I find it interesting when we do these that the way we do it is that we always pick different. Like sometimes I make the first couple of times I made a mega list because I was afraid you might pick one or two of mine, like especially when we did the cartoon characters. But I'm noticing
we've not got overlaps.
Right.
We don't have overlaps.
Even with James Bond villains, I noticed we didn't have overlaps. So I'm like, I'm safe now where I come up with 3 or 4, and I have some honorable mentions just in case. But it seems that we are, and I mean this in a good way, on different spectrums on how we pick. So I'm good with that. But we're always close to what we pick. So I like that.
Very good.
Yeah, it's very nice.
How's
my CAO Davidoff, I've left the ban on, is a beauty. It's a nice, beautiful smoke. I will say one thing about the CAO Brazilian Amazon. It's a beautiful smoke from the minute you light it to the finish. I've never had a bad one. So, and it's a cheap cigar, and I love that. And then look at you with your Romeo and Julieta.
I've taken the La Casa del Habanos band off. Sitting on my finger there.
There you go.
Well, that's because I got down to
the nub.
What a smoke!
Was that a beauty?
Fruity, spicy, creamy.
Nice.
Very slightly cedary. Very slightly.
All right.
But it's building up in strength. This one is going to be a little bit of a hit. This bullet part.
Okay.
Getting stronger.
All right. Good. Kudos to Romeo and Juliet for the new release in the United Kingdom, and ST DuPont for their lighter. So we thank you. We thank all of you.
We salute you.
We salute you. Yes. And my friend, it's always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure. Have a wonderful weekend. For all you fans, thank you for listening or watching, depending on if you catch us on the podcast or if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're a cigar lounge anywhere on the planet, and you want us to do a show there, let us know. We'll make arrangements.
Comment and subscribe. If you want us to keep doing this little gathering in more and more exotic cigar lounges. Unfortunately, you've got my cigar lounge at home here, but we're going to step up our game. And if you want us to step up our game, like it, write it, let us know. If you have any favorite cigar lounges in London, I'll go and do hits on them. Yep. And likewise with you, Stephen, I'm sure people are going to give you some recommendations for cigar lounges in New York.
New York. If I listen, anywhere in the United States, if you think there's a cigar lounge we should go into and they're willing, we can make it happen. But I'll be in New York, next week. And then Austin only has a handful. There's a couple hotels here that actually have a cigar lounge, but they only open at night, like Dubai when we went to the Winston Churchill. Right? They only open at 5. So for you guys that would like us to do a show, if you want us to do a show when we're both across the pond from each other, 6, 7 in the morning is when you're going to have to open up for it. And if you want us together, we can make arrangements. That's not that difficult. So we're good. So.
Enjoy your bite of the Big Apple.
Oh, I will. And you're going to see me next week in the Big Apple, and I will take lots of pictures when I'm going to the Davidoff Lounge Monday night. I've already scoped it out. I know where I'm going.
Photos and videos. Tag me.
Yes, I will photo on Instagram. So yes, on Instagram, I am Two Old Farts. Well, the channel is Two Old Farts Making Noises. We tag, and you are on Instagram.
A lizard with an E on the end. .cigars.
There you go.
I'll put it down on my little type. Where is it? The title there.
There's the title. There's the YouTube channel where you get all the cigar 1930, 1940s type of cigar videos, which are very, very cool, with the Maltese Falcon in it, which is very cool. So we like that. Everybody, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful Saturday morning. We'll see you all next week. My friend, I will see you next week. Have a great day.
Signing off, sir.
Cheers.